So good morning, everyone. Thank you for
Hold on.
attending today.
Yeah, session's
Brian,
been
I'll
recorded.
let you start.
Yeah, sorry, session's been recorded, as Darren said. We'll be sending this out subsequently to attendees and those who've registered, as we put in the email. Envisage a presentation will last about an hour. It's fairly informal format, so I suppose any comments or quick questions, please interject and we'll look to respond. There will be some time allocated at the end of the session for a more formal Q&A, so these sort of bigger questions. Presenters, so myself and Darren. I work in the marketing team. You'll have seen my name attached to the majority of the promotional material that we send out. Also occasionally on some of our videos and popping up on the website to chat. Also been... Can we mute the microphones? Is that all right? So, and Darren's our team lead for the food space. He's been with Techman for 12 years. He'll be doing the bulk of the demonstration here. Almost from the start of that 12 years, he's been working in the food and beverage sort of tranche of the business. Early in his career, he was a software developer. He now fulfills...
Not very good.
for his sins. So modest. He now fulfills a commercial role here exclusively, so he has the sort of valuable perspective, I suppose both a sensitivity to the industry challenges and a good commercial understanding of how technology can benefit customers. So what we'll cover: who are Technology Management, little about us, why choose us, and what gives us credibility as a partner. What is Dynamics Food? How we leverage a sort of business central platform and accommodate challenges specific to the food industry. And an overview of key areas. Ask away. As I've sort of mentioned, the format of this is relatively informal. If there are immediate questions about, I suppose, any aspect, do drop them in the chat box and we'll look to address them. But to confirm, there will be time apportioned at the close for a Q&A. So a bit about us. Known colloquially as Techman. We've been trading for over 32 years now, over 180 employees. Involved with Navision, the old name for Business Central, since the 90s. And really interesting fact, that actually predates Microsoft's ownership of the product. So vastly experienced in that sphere. No regional bias, as expressed in that map. We cover the whole of the UK and Ireland.
That map's well out of date, Brian. We'll have to get an updated version of that.
Yes, yeah, it is now. We've got broader now, haven't we?
Yeah.
Inside Techman. So I'll leave the slide up and won't read it out verbatim, but some sort of salient points. Privately owned, so we're flexible, autonomous with reference to our decision making, and I suppose particularly important, decisions that are right for the customer. We're not held to rigid sort of group edicts, and we cultivate a culture of I suppose personalisation, of building strong and enduring relationships with customers, and we hope that's evidenced in our retention figures. We think we're unique compared to Dynamics partners, so traditionally specialising in the distribution and production sectors. Been in the food and beverage space since 2009. Provider of Dynamics CRM, the relationship management tool, but Business Central is the only ERP product we offer. In the green, so I think 26, it was 30 people in support.
Yeah, 29 last count.
Well, okay. And they're dedicated to that role daily. So sort of interesting slide that we've put in here that details a sort of evolving cohorts of ERP decision makers. You have sort of archetypal baby boomers who perhaps traditionally saw IT as a cost overhead. So almost been usurped by the millennials and Gen X generations. So with an advancing sort of millennials demographic, you've got a group of people sort of saturated in technology and tech sort of shaped and inform the majority of their interactions, and they've got a fluency and comfort when using it, and very much demand similar in their professional lives and of their service providers. So Satya Nadella quote, digital technology is a deflationary force in an inflationary economy. So that's very much sort of part of Microsoft's Do More with Less initiative. To sort of unpack, to pass the quote, theme is all about accelerating digital capabilities across every function in an organization. The concept is if a worker can produce more with less, that will sort of boost supply and reduce prices. So, evidenced in this graphic, you've got the cloud, secure, reliable, predictable pricing, scalable, quicker to deploy, cheaper, accessible, doable with less, collaborative, the right data, the right member of staff, unify data, effectively one version of the truth, accurate, reliable data, which is obviously vital for successful outcomes. Microsoft Stack, so the interconnected suite of Microsoft products designed to work together and provide a unified experience. You'll all recognise those at the top. Power Apps is a low-code application development environment that enables users to build custom applications tailored to their processes. Darren will be elaborating more around the Power Tools and their potential later on, but just touching on a couple. Power BI is the data analytics and visualization tool. Power Virtual Agents is the AI-driven chatbot platform within Power Platform. It allows users to create, I suppose, conversational agents that can handle queries, provide assistance, and automate customer support. Some references, not exhaustive, but shows some food companies we work with. Quite an eclectic list, lots of verticals represented, some quite prominent names, notably Costa, AF Blakemore, Border Biscuits, number of dairy companies, Nantwich, Neil's Yard, meat production such as Two Sisters are there. And I will pass it over to you now, Darren, just to go into the presentation.
Okay, thanks, Brian. So thanks for that, Brian. So I'm going to now cover more of a technical sort of aspect, and I'm going to give you a run through how the product works, take you on an end-to-end sort of view of the product. A couple of things before we get into that, though. So everything I'm going to show today is Business Central. As technology manager, we like to keep everything as out the box as possible, where possible. We're doing as minimal add-ons or developments. So it's not like the old days where we used to do Navision and we used to have to do lots and lots of developments to make it fit the market. So the way we do this is basically we have a number of apps that we have created over the years that we then deploy inside a customer solution stack to make it a better fit for what they want. So we don't have to have all the apps. So a customer may just need one app, they may just need the quality app, or they may just need an e-commerce plugin or something like that. But all we do is we're taking the core Business Central ERP and plugging in the relevant apps that the customer needs. So these are all on the Microsoft App Store. I'm going to show there. We have a brand called Clever Dynamics, which is a brand that we sell to Microsoft partners around the world, not just in the UK. And we would basically plug those in to make a full solution stack. But the important thing now is that Business Central is just part of Office. So when you install Office on your computer, Business Central is just another icon. and it integrates into the whole Office suite. So you have integration into Excel, you have integration into Word for document layouts and things like that. You have integration into Power BI for visualizations of the reports. So you can use Fabric for data warehousing and all sorts of stuff. So basically, it's all part of the Microsoft solution stack, and I'll show you some of those aspects as we go along. And Microsoft are investing a lot of money in this product we're going to show you today. There's about $1 billion a year goes into it, which is, you know, a fair bit. And there's always new functionality coming out. So a new version of this product comes out every month with a major release every 6 months. They call it the spring and fall release, with new functionality coming out at all those times. And the great thing about the solution, because it's all in the cloud now, it automatically updates itself. So you never have to worry about implementing a new solution because you're 3 or 4 years out of date and you want to take advantage of the latest things. It will automatically update itself. So it's just like Office, it will update itself every month. So again, some of these things I'm going to show you, things like catch weight, container management. I'll try and show you these things as we go through the demonstration we got today. One last thing, so that's just what we're going to show you. One last thing before that, there's a new functional area of the system just come into it. That's becoming more relevant soon with the government legislations coming in. So we've now also got sustainability within the product. So you can do all of the kind of things you can see on screen there to actually register your carbon footprint and all this on. So as the legislation gets more for bigger companies, you'll have to record your carbon footprint, all that kind of stuff. And Business Central has that available in it. I'm not going to show this today. I can maybe have a look at a little bit of it for you today, but it is all there within the product there. So the great thing is Microsoft, any legislation changes that come along, Microsoft will release that to the product as a standard. Right, so I'm now going to move off PowerPoint and go to the product. So hopefully everyone can see my screen still. This is Business Central. As I said, it's part of Office. So if I go into my Office environment, I click on my apps, we can see that Business Central is just another app inside my Office environment. So I've got all sorts of different apps on my computer there. Copilot's obviously a major part of the solution these days as well. So we got that inside the solution. If I open up Outlook and any customers or suppliers are sending me emails into the system, Business Central appears as a plugin to Outlook. So I can see information about my customer, my suppliers inside there. I can click in and view information without even leaving Excel. I can do that. And also, if it gets a little bit smaller, I want to drill in a bit more, I can just click on the button there and it'll pop it out and make it a little bit bigger. So the journey is a lot easier. Instead of having to go in your ERP and things like this, you can have it all part of your business package there. I am going to show you some AI stuff a little bit as part of the solution today. One thing I actually did earlier that I thought was quite funny. I used AI to say, okay, create me an infographic for my presentation I'm going to do today on traceability. So it says, here's my infographic for the presentation I'm going to do on Business Central with food today. But look at that there, reduced waste. What's reduced waste? Anyone know what that is? Brian, any idea? So we've got reduced waste as part of that. So the infographic, so AI basically saying the AI isn't quite perfect still, but that's why they call it Copilot in Microsoft. It's not the pilot, it's the Copilot. So you have to take a look at what it does and then make it a little bit better. I will show you more of these AI aspects a little bit as we go through. Okay, so Business Central itself is a role-tailored environment. And what that basically means is that the role that you have or the role that you do within the business determines what you can do, what you can see, and what you have access to within the ERP system. So I'm logged on at the moment as a business manager, so I've got aspects of all of it. I'm also logged into my demo sandbox environment. So two things about that. One is because it's my demo environment, I have lots and lots of things on screen. That you'll think, crikey, there's a lot of stuff there. When we deploy the solution, basically we strip off everything that's not needed for the roles that people are doing. Okay, so one thing it's with any implementation of ERP is people, and they get scared when they have new systems. So what we try and do is minimize everything that's going on so that they only get things that are relevant to them on their dashboard. So to give you an example of that, at the moment I'm logged on as a business manager. If I go to my screen and my settings and say I want to be a warehouse manager, click OK. Inside the warehouse, I'm probably only interested in internal movements, goods in, and shipments. Not interested in the rest of it. So my dashboard is considerably smaller. And again, I can further personalize this to say, actually, I don't need to have assembly orders. I want to hide that one and move that around. So basically, you can tailor the whole environment to be just what is relevant for your environment or your users. Okay, I'm just going to flick back again to, oops, if I click on the right button there, I'm going to click back to my settings, and I'm going to go back to the main business manager. There we go. So you can see here there's lots of out the box different views of what the system is, from quality users, production managers, service managers, because the product isn't just what we're going to show you today. There's lots of other functionality that you can also use that we're not going to cover today, but please feel free to ask any questions if you have anything. So back to my my business dashboard again. Because it's a dashboard, you can have all sorts of things on there. So these are queues which show how many objects I've got there. So I've got 6 sales orders, 1 purchase order. I can go down, I can have a look at some of the reports within the system. I can plug my Power BI into the system as well. Oops, for some strange reason, it's not plugged in there. Because the computer's moved me. I'm just going to change computers again. There we go. Switch to that one. That's why it wasn't there. I'm on the wrong distance. Incidentally, while I was clicking there, I was moving between companies. So you can see on my button here, I have lots of companies installed on my computer. And to move between them, literally just click on it and flick to the different one. So you can see here on this version where I've actually built a bit of stuff, I've got some Power BI reports embedded within the system that you can see there. Again, Power BI becomes a part of Business Central. I'll show you a little bit more right at the end of all the kind of reports that are going in there. I've even got visualizations of my stock within my warehouse. I can click on the stock, it'll show me where it is inside the warehouse, all sorts of functionality there. But again, all these reports are interactive as you'd expect with business Power BI. Again, I can view this software because it's a cloud-based solution. I can access this computer, access the software on a computer, PC, an Apple Mac if you want to go that route. You can also access it on a tablet computer. You can also access it on your phone. So if I go and show you what it looks like on those there, if I go into design mode, if I'm on a tablet computer or a mobile phone, the phone, it looks like this. So if I go back to my home screen, it will show you what it looks like. And all it is basically is the screen furniture on your phone is a lot smaller. I can actually click on there. It's not actually showing an awful lot on there. Whoops. And if I go to the tablet screen, I'm just going to move that box out of the way because it's really annoying. You probably can't see it. Tablet screen, it just looks like that. So all it's basically doing is just showing you different views of how to use the system. So, for example, a tablet computer we use in the quality department more than anything else, purely because they can walk around with a tablet, can do the quality checks, they can use a camera on the back of the tablet to take photos of issues and start non-conformances and all that kind of stuff if they want to. Whereas the mobile phone is used for people doing occasional inquiries. Now, you can actually use everything that I'm going to show you today on any different device. So it doesn't matter what kind of device you're using, you're allowed to use on any device. So while my computer catches up there, I think I just confused it by doing that. I'm just going to go here. Oops. So what I was going to show you at this moment as well is AI working on the computer. So there's new functionality coming in from artificial intelligence with Microsoft, and Microsoft have invested an awful lot of money in AI. So they want to start getting some return out of that investment. So the first thing to come along is agents. So agents are basically little AI agents that sit there and do a particular task. So in this case, I've got my sales order agent sitting there waiting to listen to customers making inquiries for quotes, orders and things like that. And what it'll do, basically, the emails will come in for customers. I've plugged into emails at the moment. An email will come in from a prospect or a customer saying, can you give me a quote? I want to order this. The agent will then reply to those requests either directly or push it to you to say, actually, this is what I think I want to reply with. Is that correct? So if I look at the one here from Matt, that Matt did earlier, we can see a message came in from this customer where Matt sent in a request, and the AI agent said, basically, here's your request. Please find the prices and the quantities that you want from the AI agent. So you can see it responds very quickly. So it can be completely automatic. It can be completely manual. But you can see here, the email came in first from the prospect. Then the request was reviewed, sent for review by Matt to say, Matt, can you review this, because the customer also asked for a discount, which the discount is not normally available to them. These are the items I think you want. And then finally, Matt agreed it and said, okay, that's okay. And it sent out, created a sales quote as PDF and sent it out to the prospect. Okay, so there are lots of other agents coming, and we also have the ability to create our own agents. So you've got sales agent, purchase agent, invoicing agent, finance agent, and you can also have a production agent. But like we said, we can create a little mini agent to do any particular task. So you give it rules, and the agent will follow the rules. Anytime it can't work out what to do, it comes back to you and says, can you do this? I notice I've just run out of credits, or my quota on my agent stopped working now. Okay, so that's very quickly agents. So we'll show you some more AI stuff as we go along. So I'll just go back to my demo system again, if I can find out where my demo system is. So Business Central, as I said, it's a role-tailored environment. What we're going to do now, we're going to look at some areas of the system just to give you a little bit of an idea of how it all works. So if I go and have a look at some of my items, for example. So inside Business Central, you've got two different types of screen. You have your list screens, which are lists of customers, lists of items, lists of suppliers, lists of vendors, and things like this. You can view them in multiple ways. So I've got them there as tiles. I can also view them as traditional lists. I can also view them as big tall tiles if I want to. It's down to personal preference. But the lists basically work just like Excel. So we can have freeze panes, we can have column sorts, we can filter by values, all the kind of things you can do in Excel, you would expect to do in Excel. But I can also, if I wanted to, I can chuck that data into Excel. So I can open up an Excel and I can do a pivot table, I can do a report on it, I can do whatever I want to within Excel. So integration to Excel is really simple and easy as well. But also, I can also edit my data in Excel. So for example, there, if I've got my chicken vindaloo, I can edit that in Excel. What happens when I do this is it will open up Excel. It will then log me into Business Central from Excel. So on the right-hand side of the screen in a second, it should log me in to my office environment. Normally it fails the first time because I've not done this demo yet. Oh yeah, it's okay. It will then load the data that I have access to. So if I don't have access to it in Excel, in Business Central, it won't let me see the data or edit the data. So hopefully I've got access to it there. I've then got access to all my data, and I can say, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to call that chicken vindaloo hot, just nice and there. When I'm happy with all my changes, I can then click publish, and instead of doing the import export the traditional way, it basically just uses the standard APIs open to Business Central and we'll push the data back in. I'll close that there, and when I refresh my screen here, let's do a refresh the screen, it should say chicken vindaloo hot. So editing your data, mass updates, all that kind of functionality is all very quick and easy now, a lot quicker than the older days. And you can do that, what I've done there, editing Excel on pretty much every screen, not absolutely every screen, because there's some screens that are just not relevant there, but you can do that. But also remember, if you don't have security privileges that allow you to do it, the computer won't let you do it. So a lot of companies will lock down the export to Excel because they don't want people taking all the data out into Excel. Other aspects of the system that's really useful. Oh, incidentally, you can also chuck that into Teams. I use this share with Teams all the while when I've got a query or something. So I'll just share my current screen or the current object that I'm on and chuck into Teams, and anyone within your organization then can view that query on Teams. It's used quite a lot with a quality team as well if they have a particular issue and they want to just ask someone's advice on it. Other aspects we got is the filters. So at the moment, I'm viewing all my data, but I can create filters for sweets on my items, for example. I've got nice sweets there, some ice cream, some low stock items. All these filters here, I can create to my heart's content. So I'll just go back to all items there, and I can create a new filter. And I can add a filter, and I can choose from any one of the visual data objects on my current screen. So there's all sorts of things we can filter from there. Oh no, what's interesting there? I can't even think of what's interesting there. But you can see you can filter there. You can have as many different filters as you want. So if I add that filter there and that filter there and that filter there. So to give you an example of how I use that filter there, I would set up a incoming purchase orders that are due within the next 2 days. and the system would then show me all the purchase orders due in the next 2 days, and I would make sure I've got an order confirmation from the supplier to say that one is definitely due in that day. And because I can do really interesting thing there, so if I filter the totals there by put a date filter on there, I can put T, that means today. So the computer will always remember today, or if I do T plus 2, it'll remember 2 days from now. So it will filter it, well, might help if I do it correctly. It will filter the data by that there, or W is a week from now. And so all these kind of filtered objects will allow you to do that nice and easily. And those remember the filter then. So when you click on the filter then, it will automatically remember that filter you've got. So it makes finding data on your system a lot easier. Okay, so that's my list view. The second kind of view we've got is edit view. So if I go in and have a look at my chicken tikka masala from Asda, when I go to my edit view, this is basically the normal view of your items when you're editing it. So all the information is available to me here. So I've got key information about my base units of measure, inventory, what stock I've got on hand, and all the tabs go down the screen there, but I can minimize the tabs nice and easily by just clicking that one there. And I can then propagate information onto the tab header without having to open up the tab. So again, it just makes your screen a little bit easier to maximize your screen furniture. I can again personalize it and delete stuff, hide stuff, move stuff around if I need to, because not all the data is relevant for everyone at the same time. And we can also, you can see there, we can show more, show less, and it will actually maximize the screen to what you're trying to show. On my screen here on the right hand side, I've got AI Copilot is plugged in again, just give me a little bit to view there. I have got a plugin on my machine at the moment, which is, this one's called Clever Document Links, which basically means I can drag any item from my computer there, like this webinar, and drag it onto my screen and attach it into that object there. So it'll take it, things like emails out my email box or anything like that, and attach it to this object. So this is where you can attach purchase orders to sales orders. You can attach goods in notes to delivery notes. Everything can be attached everywhere within the system. And basically what this does, it stores it in OneDrive for you. So it takes out your private one, puts it in the system, so everyone then has access to all of those documents. It would have helped if I hadn't dragged a really big document into there. That's just copying it across now for me. Incidentally, this is just an app, an extension. You can't tell it's not part of Standard Business Central. And the way they work is if I go into extension management, I can see all the different apps I've got plugged into my Business Central system. That's a really quick and easy way of maneuvering around the system, by the way, by just typing where you want to go up there. It's for people that are lazy like me. But I've got into there, and these are all the apps that I have installed on my Business Central system. So you can see I've got a lot of Clever Dynamics ones there. I've also got some of the standard Microsoft ones. So examples of the standard ones from Business Central itself is an app. And then you have things like Making Tax Digital is a UK specific app because it's for the UK. And you've also got things like email apps and stuff like that. So everything that you plug into Business Central is an app, and you can see the versions there. So Microsoft always keep up to date with the latest version, and anything that's in the App Store has to be up to date with the latest version as well. So all sorts of different apps there. Now, if I also wanted to find another app to do a particular job, I could click on the App Store and go and have a look on the Microsoft App Store to try and find something. And I think there's something like 3,500 to 4,000 apps on the Microsoft App Store where we can do different things. And you can see here, lots and lots of apps to do all sorts of different things. So all you have to do is search for what you want an app to do. So PayPal is a simple one. I can plug on PayPal, and then I can install it on my app if I wanted to. Okay, so again, some of the apps are chargeable, some of the apps are free, so it depends on what the apps are. And again, if anyone's got any queries about our apps, everything that we do is all open. So if you're interested, if I can actually spell, if you're interested in any of our apps under the Clever banner, you can go there, have a look at the apps, and it will tell you through. So if you've got things like Clever EDI, which is quite common. I was going to talk about that a little bit later. You can see that our EDI app, we have over 100 different connectors to like Sainsbury's, Tesco's, etc. And it's based upon the number of transactions. So if you have 5,000 or so transactions or orders a month, it'll cost you £220 a month. And that's amortized across all the customers you may have, Tesco, Aldi, Sainsbury's, Marks and Spencer's, wherever it may be. So feel free to have a look at that at any point just to see whether it's relevant for you. So that's how apps work. Again, if you don't want an app anymore, all you do is go to the App Store and uninstall it. And all the data can be kept on your system, or you can actually trash the data that the app kept as well. It's up to you. Taking you on a bit of a tour of the item master. So the item master, in my opinion, is one of the most important parts of the system. So this is where you set up your core master data for what you're going to sell, make, or distribute. Okay, so I've created for this demo, or we've got our standard demo here, we're going to be making chicken tikka masala, a special Asda one, and we're going to restrict it to only sell it to Asda as a customer and not to Aldi, because what we don't want to do is send an Asda branded product to Tesco or Aldi or anything else. So a couple of key things there. So my base unit of measure I've set up on the system is pieces, which basically means the lowest common denominator I can sell this item to is one chicken tikka masala. However, if I go down to my sales information, I say that I don't sell anything to customers less than a case. Okay, so I may set up a case, I may set up a layer, I may set up a pallet. So it all depends on what you want to do. So all you do, you just have to have a relationship between the base unit of measure and something like a layer within the system. So if I sell a layer, I sell a layer there, or if I sell a pallet. So a layer is 12 times 12. So 144 eaches. So a case is 12, a layer is 144, and a pallet, for example, may be 12 times 12 times 12. I can't work it out. There you go, 1,728 eaches. So what will happen is if I order a pallet, the MRP solution will say actually go and make 1,728 eaches, and it just works all the thing out for you. Again, it depends on whether you're working in units of measure of eaches, pieces, or weight. So I'll just show you weight in just a second. Brian, can you still hear me?
Yes, you're loud and clear.
Yeah, my computer just made a funny noise if it disconnected, but it didn't. Okay, so what I've got then is my inventory. So that's an Americanism. I do apologize about that. So your stock levels there, you do get used to it. So I can see on any of these hyperlinks here how much I've got on stock, how much I've got on purchase order, how much I've got on production order. And again, if I drill into any one of these items, I can go in and see exactly what's going on, go and have a look at that one there and see exactly when I'm making that particular order that for those 1,200 items. So again, the great thing about Business Central is if you have permission, you can go from anywhere to anywhere. And I'll talk a little bit about that when we do the lot traceability in just a second. Other kind of information that's relevant to some of the people that may be on this presentation is catch weight. So standard Business Central doesn't have catch weight capability, but we as a food specialist, we put catch weight into the system. And what that basically means is we can have dual units of measure. So for example, if you're selling units of beef, for example, a customer may order 2 joints of beef, and then when you ship it to them, you'll say, well, I've shipped you 2 joints of beef. One was 1.4 kilograms and one was 2.2 kilograms, and I'm going to charge you by weight. So ordering in one unit, invoicing in another unit of measure. And we can do that for catch weight on sales and catch weight on purchase. We don't do catch weight on costing because all the customers we ever did just didn't worry too much about the catch weight and costing inside there. Other things we got there is costing methods. You have multiple different costing methods. FIFO, specific, average, etc. Generally, not everyone, but generally in manufacturing, we have a standard cost. We reevaluate our standard cost every few months. So we work into a standard cost, and then you have a variance to standard each time you make a production order. Just keeps it a little bit simpler for the sales team to actually work to a standard cost. The system can calculate your standard cost for you. I didn't notice if anyone on here was doing disassembly of animals, i.e. turning a cow into various different products or fish into cuts of fish or anything like that. We do have a disassembly app where you can take different cuts of the raw animal and do different things with them. We've got different costing elements there, and also where you post it inside of your financial system. Another interesting thing is that when you set up items, you have multiple templates. So you default a lot of this information. So if you create a new item, you say, I want to use the standard whatever product template, and it will default all this information for you, because there is a lot of information to capture. And we can also require certain information. So part of the release process, we can say, well, if you haven't completed all the information, you can't release that item for production or purchasing or anything like that yet. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that if we talk about NPD a little bit later. Sales prices, again, you set your sales price based upon your unit of measure for sales there. You can have different prices for different customers. So if I go and have a look at my prices and discounts, I think I've set up a couple of prices here. I've only set up one at the moment for Asda. So if they buy a case and they buy a minimum of 10, they will get it to £12 each. I can also do the same again. If I just duplicate that one there, and if they buy a case and they buy 100 of them, they get it at £11.50. You can have dates starting from and to. You can also have customer specific pricing, customer group pricing, campaign based pricing, all customer pricing. It's up to you and what you want to do. We also have the ability to do the same with discounts. So again, we can have customer specific discounts between a particular date. We can have campaign discounts, everything you can imagine. So it's very rare we come across anything where we can't replicate the pricing structure you have with your customers. One thing that does make our life easier is that export in Excel. So if you do a price change, we can either do a price change in a couple of ways. One, we can change the whole price and everyone has a net price, so your discounts just change, or we can just chuck it into Excel, update our prices and bring it back in from Excel to make it nice and easy, because some customers do have very convoluted pricing with lots and lots of different customers with different pricing. So we can manage that pretty easy these days. I'm also going to do, there's other aspects of the system I'm not going to talk about at the moment. An important aspect though is replenishment. So when I need some more chicken tikka masala, how do I get it? So there's three ways of getting it within the system. One, we can go and buy it in. So for any of you out there that are distributors, it will just suggest we raise a purchase order to go and buy some more. We can do an assembly order. So an assembly order is a simple way of doing production. So it doesn't worry about capacity planning and routing, and it doesn't have the same kind of things on tracking scrappage and things like that, but it's a good start for 10. So for example, if you were making a Aldi chicken tikka masala, Aldi generally say, well, whenever you're sending us a case of a curry, we want 4 chicken tikka masala, we want 4 chicken vindaloo, and we want 4 vegetable masala in one case. So in that case, what you probably have is your final bit would be an assembly, where you'd say, I want to take 4 of them, 4 of them, and 4 of them, put them in a case, put a wrapper on them and ship them out. But that would have a sub-assembly then of making the actual 4 of those, 4 vindaloos and 4 vegetable ones. So you'd have a sub-assembly there, and you could have sub-assemblies inside there for doing that. So an assembly is just a simple way of bringing things together without worrying about capacity planning. It will tell you how many hours you need, but it won't capacity plan it for you. Production order is the final way of doing it, the one I've set up in this particular demonstration here. And what we then have when we click onto production, we have the production manufacturing policy. I'm doing make to order here, but you can do make to stock. It's down to personal preference and what you do. We have a routing and we have a production BOM. So for a quick view of that, so if I'm going to have a look at what my BOM looks like for this one. So my BOM in this one, I'm making it 2 ways. Let's drill that in a bit quicker. We can't quite see that there. So we can see here I'm making the chicken tikka masala itself from some cream, some red chili powder, some green ginger, salt, etc., etc. I'm making that as a sub-assembly, and then I'm adding it to my final product with some chicken, a tray, some heat film, and some sleeve wrap, just to give you an idea of how you can do sub-assemblies inside there. We can do that by operation. I'm going to skip that one for the time being. We can also view that same information by, if we go into there, by the cost shares. So as I'm building up my production order, I can see that the total product cost for this is going to be £1.64, and it's made up of all these different elements. So if I drill into the first one, we can see my chicken tikka masala. The final element is made up of some chicken breast at these quantities, at this cost, which rolls up to 57 pence, with a tray, with the heat film, with the sleeve, etc., etc., and also the machine cost So I'm saying here, just to make the final one, it's just pouring it out. It cost me £60 per minute, or 60 pence per minute of that machine running, and therefore it's going to be 10 pence of extra cost is going to be added to for the machine run cost there. If I drill into the other level of this one here, we can also see my tomato puree, cream, etc. all has a quantity required with the different units of measure with a rolled up cost, which all goes into my final cost in there. Okay, hopefully that will mean something to people. But just to show you how we make up those bills of material, if I go and have a look at my production BOM for this one, and we go and have a look how we make this one here. So I've got some items. So I've got some chicken tikka masala, which is the sub-assembly that I showed you earlier. We've got some chicken breast, a tray, etc. Into this level here. With these quantities, we can have scrap at the individual quantity level. Okay, so I haven't put any scrapping on here, but it may be that we have 1% scrap on the tray because trays get damaged, broken, wherever it may be. It's up to you how you do it. So all of this is trying to work out what your cost of your raw material and your product is. Other things that are relevant on the screen here, we can see this is certified at the moment. I can go under development. We can have different versions of the bill of material. So as we go through different food fashions, you may have less salt in there, more sugar. I don't know, if you have a different version of the product for Marks and Spencers who have slightly different ingredients, you'll either have a different BOM or a different product completely. So all of these things can be built within the system to actually make your life easy and try to analyze it. If we do also do NPD, we have an NPD add-on that we can do. We can actually control that by the NPD product for creating new versions, and when you bring a version on, it'll probably go into there under development. So you can't you can manufacture it, but you can't sell it or anything like that until you've certified the product. So that's our bill of material. The routing is the cost of actually making it. So if I have a look at this one here, how we make this, it's a nice and simple one at this level. And we just basically got a machine center here where we're going to pour and pack it. It takes us 60 minutes to set the machine up, and then it takes us 0.15 of a minute for every pack that we're going to make. We've got things like on our wait time. So if it's I'll explain some of these. So setup time is once per production order. Run time is per unit of measure, per each in this one, or pieces. Wait time is per production order there. Movement times per production. So all of these here can be used to determine what the cost of this production is going to be. So if you have a wait time, so if you put it in the oven, then you have to wait 30 minutes before you can put it in a cooler. You may want to cost it, putting it into a particular area, or if it goes in the freezer or a fridge or a blast chiller for an hour and you want to cost that in, you can do all of those different things there. So each of these different work centers will have costing against them. They'll also have capacity. You also can group them together. So if you've got multiple machines that can do the same thing, you can group them all together and then schedule against a group of them, and it will schedule against multiples. And I'll show you that when we do the visual production Gantt in a short while. And you can also do different shift patterns. So if you do a 7-hour or 8-hour day, you can just have a shift pattern is just 8 hours a day, or you can have multiple shift patterns to give you almost an unlimited capacity within the machine. So all that kind of functionality is there. I can't go into it in massive detail at the moment because we don't have time, but again, just to let you know, it is all available to you. We also have the ability to have multiple operators and multiple setup people costed there. So they may be at different rates, and you can have multiple people there. You can say, actually, I need 3 operators on the packing area, but I only need 1 setup machine, 1 person to set it up. But again, what this is doing is costing your overhead cost of the production itself. And any scrap you have here is scrap against the labor and the machine runtime instead. So again, the two combined with your bill of material and your routing go together to give you total cost of production. Okay. So going back then to my item master itself, we've got other things we can do there. So lot size. Lot size can be used there for if you have, if for example, in this particular instance, if I'm making a vat of tikka masala, I may say, actually, I make 250 kilograms at a time because that's how much I make. So if you need 500 kilograms of the product, it will suggest 2 production orders for 250 each. that kind of thing there. Scrap percentage at this level is scrap against the total overhead. And I can also get the AI there. So when you see these little things here, Copilot will come up and suggest different things that you may want to use. Again, AI is virtually every field these days has some AI availability within it now. Planning characteristics is next. So planning characteristics. So this is how I make it, but how do I know when to make it? And this is where your planning characteristics come in. So in this instance, I've done this on what we call back-to-back or order. So every time an order comes in from Asda to make some new chicken tikka masala, I'll go make it. I don't stock it. I will make it because it has a short shelf life. So it's day one for day two, maybe, or something like that. We can, however, have things like lot for lot. So if you have longer shelf life, you may say, actually, I'm going to go for a lot for lot. So every time an order comes in, it will look how much we got in the stock, and then it will say, well, actually, I've got 50 in stock. I need 100, therefore go and make another 50. It will then look at the planning characteristics. So actually, I'll never make less than 250 anyway. So even though I need 50, I'm going to make 250. Hopefully that will make sense to people. And you've also got max order, minimum fixed reorder quantity. So every time I get an order, go make 100 of them, because that's how much I can put through the factory at any time, and I can't make any more than that. So again, all of these have their own requirements and characteristics, and you can see as I click between them, different parameters get switched on and off based upon what we do there. So if I'm doing lot for lot, I'll have an accumulation period. So that says, look for a week's worth of orders and group them all together and make one production order for a week's worth of order, and then reschedule it every month, for example. Again, that's not a very good example because it's got 5-day shelf life, so it'll have gone out of date before we even ship it. Other things there, we can have things like stock keeping units, and what that basically means, we can have different stocking of this in different locations. So if you've got multiple warehouses, you've got cold store, you've got freezers off site, all that kind of stuff, you can have different units of measure and you deal with them differently in different warehouse locations. And we've got other things like dampener quantities, dampener periods and things like this. So customers normally make a lot of noise, so they're changing their mind constantly. They're giving you forecasts that aren't quite as good as their actual orders. So dampener quantities and dampener periods basically say, if I have any changes within 2 days, ignore it, because I don't want to be changing my production orders and my purchase orders every 2 minutes. And if my quantity changes by less than 100, for example, ignore it. Now, I can't do that with back-to-back because it says go and order exactly what I make. But if that was lot for lot, I could change that to be a dampener period, a dampener quantity of anything less than 100 change. Just ignore it. I'm not bothered. Hopefully, again, that will make sense to people. I'm conscious I'm going very quickly here, so you may have to go back to the recording to listen to it again to understand what I'm saying. Right, important bit here, farm to fork traceability, item tracking. Okay, so what this basically means is this item is lot tracked, and every component that goes into my chicken tikka masala is also lot tracked. I'm not serial tracking it, I'm purely lot tracking it. What that basically means is all the lots that come in, I'm tracking when they come in, who they receive from. I can do quality checks against that lot before I release it into production and stuff, and I'll show you that in a little bit of time. But basically what that means is within a few seconds, if you get a BRC audit and they come in and say, I want you to trace that one there, within a few seconds, you can do a full forward and backward trace of all the materials that went into that chicken tikka masala. Again, we'll show you that in just a second when we go to lot traceability. We have different tracking codes for different kind of objects. We can set up as many of them inside the system as we want to. I've just got the one there. We also have a default expiry calculation. So when I'm making one of these, it will automatically get 1 week worth of expiry. Normally when you're printing the labels out and stuff like that, it'll put an expiry date on there automatically for you. And then the final bit on there is the warehouse availability. So this is just how we're working with a warehouse. Again, we have full warehouse capability within Business Central with multiple warehouses. You have transfers between warehouses. You can have consignment stock, bins, zones, quality checks between different areas, all sorts of functionality in there. We're not going to cover an awful lot of that today. I will show you locations in a bit, but we do have full warehouse capability in there. Last few bits I'm going to show you is item attributes. So item attributes is a really useful feature within the system for managing not just your fat in there. I get quite a lot of customers to manage this for their allergens, for managing allergens. So if you have different allergens in there, you can identify all the allergens on this particular one. We also have an add-on. We work with an external piece of software for when you want to do labels directly from systems. So this is only relevant for manufacturers that don't pre-print their labels. So if you want to have dynamic labels off the system, you have to have your allergens in bold. So we work with a piece of software, we integrate to it, they set it all up there, and then the labels will come out there. So any allergens will automatically come out on your labels in bold and things like that. So we can have all these different things. I've just created something there just to amuse myself more than anything else. So I put the smell there, and I'm just going to show the AI working on a marketing thing. So if I just do a draft marketing text using the AI for there, it'll say, we can generate this information there. I'll dismiss that one. That's typical, isn't it, when I've just changed it there to do that. But basically what I do when I put in the smell there, it will say it's a great product, but it smells really bad. So it's not for everyone. I'm going to skip that off of it. So it didn't quite work for me at this moment in time. Hopefully everyone's okay with that. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to just let me check if I've missed anything else there. I have missed off a couple of things there. So I'm just going to go to things like shelf life requirements. So shelf life requirements, we have this at customer, supplier and item level, where what you're saying is that this doesn't make sense here, but Asda says the minimum shelf life they will accept on this is 12 days. So if you try to ship anything which has got shelf life less than 12 days, the computer says no, you're not allowed to do it. Now, being as this has only got 5-day shelf life when you make it, we're never going to be able to ship this one here. So that's not a very good example there. So if I change that to be 5 days, you can also have minimum shelf life percentage and things like that. So basically these kind of things restrict what you can ship to customers, and then you have to have customer concessions to say, actually, Aldi, I've only got 4 days left on this one here, will you still take it? And the customer may give you a concession. You can keep a copy of the concession there to prove that they did accept that they will accept a 4-day shelf life on instead of the normal 5 days. We've also got things such as rebates on the system. I don't know if I've got any rebates on my computer here, but we have things like rebates. So you've got customer rebates, supplier rebates. You can have stacked rebates inside the system. Again, if we get time at the end, I'll try and show you some of those. And we also have things like substitutions, translations. So if you're selling this product into multiple countries, the system will create different language translations for you as well inside the system. Right, so talked enough about that. Let's go and raise a sales order on the system and sell some of these items. So if I go to sales orders, 2 different kinds of sales orders we have in the system. One is a normal traditional sales order where I want some of these on this day. You also have blanket sales orders or contract sales orders that we can have inside the system as well. So I could say I want 10,000 of these, I want 1,000 in January, 1,000 in February, 1,000 in March, 1,000 in April, etc. And the system will create a contract for you with the expiry date, a contract price, and as soon as you exceed the contract tolerances, the computer will say, you've exceeded that, do you want to create a new contract or do you want to oversubscribe against this particular contract? Again, all options are available. I'm just going to create a new order here for Asda. So choose my customer. When I start typing here, I can start typing any part of the name, the postcode, the code, wherever I may want to do. I'm going to say that the customer's expecting this here on the 1st of July, and they give me a PO number, PO 12345. I'm then going to tab and say they want the Asda buttery masala for 2. And then my next field should be the quantity. So how many did they want? So they want 100. I'm gonna have 1,000 cases of this actually. 1,000 cases, because it knows the case price, it will then calculate what the price is going to be for me. On the right hand side, you have lots of context sensitive information to help you understand what's going on here. So we'll have customer credit limits, available credit, how much credit they've got available. We got further down here, we got how much of this item we've got available. Because this is a back-to-back, we'll have none available there. So it says we've got a deficit of 1,000 items. If there's any blanket orders, so if this item's on a blanket order, on invoicing, any promotions are available, any surcharges or rebates, and stuff. So lots and lots of information available to the sales team here. So I can now, if I want to, I can release this order and let it go off and go to the planning team to actually start working on it. We also can do things such as customer specific items. So for example, if, as they're always buying, say, 5 items, we can have a quick order entry screen that pops up, and you can just choose the items that come on by checking their favorite items. Typically, as they would order via EDI. So an EDI order would come straight in, and it would either go and you'd see an order from EDI here, or the order would go straight into production making it. It all depends how you want the EDI to work within your system. I'm just going to release it. So I've now created a demand on the system for 1,000 items required on this day here. Okay, so I'm now going to go to planning and going to get the system to tell me what I need to do about this new order on my system. So if I go to planning worksheet, so planning worksheet basically is MRP. So what it's going to do, it's going to look at my demand on my system, and it's going to tell me what I need to do to fulfill my demand. Now, demand comes in 2 different guises in Business Central: orders, which are real demand, or forecast. So forecast is expected demand. Most food companies, not all, but most food companies will work on a forecast basis, because the kind of lead times they have to make, and then they'll never be able to get the raw materials in and things like that. So they'll work to a forecast, and then have the orders will then consume the forecast until the orders exceed the forecast, and then the system will tell them to go and make more orders. So one thing about standard Business Central, we'll tell you everything warts and all here, it doesn't have a very good forecasting system out the box. It's very basic. It will say, just to give you an example here, if I use a forecast on the system, I can select from a full list and go and have a look at my forecast. And basically the forecast here, if I can go and edit my demand forecast, is basically just like Excel. It gives you a list of all the items, and you have a forecast then by day, by week, by month, by quarter, by accounting period. We do enhance this a number of ways. One, we have an import and an export to Excel. So you can, there's a button would normally pop up here to chuck it into Excel. But when we create it in Excel, we can say, take this period last year to this period last year, increase it by 10%, and set that as my base forecast in Excel, where I can then go and tweak it. And then I can bring it in once I've tweaked it. So there's quite a few algorithms in Excel that allow you to do forecasting and looking at seasonality and things like that. You can also chuck it into Excel, send it around to the sales team. The sales team can all complete it for their customers, and they can bring it in as a consolidated forecast. So things in a consolidated then would have a drill down list there and say, Tesco want this, Asda want this, Sainsbury's want this, etc. But you'd be able to drill into the forecast to see at the individual custom demand level. But basically what that does, it goes into the system as a demand per SKU within the system. And then the MRP would look at that and decide what it suggests it makes based upon that forecast. We've got filters in the system, so we can actually look at individual suppliers once at a time, or individual products. Show me everything I need to do about this one particular product to fulfill it. But the great thing about the MRP, one, you can run it as many times as you want and as often as you want, and people don't have to be at the system like in the olden days. But also you can actually, until you've fulfilled the demand, either the forecast demand or the actual order demand, it will keep saying, I'm still here, you still haven't satisfied my demand. So it's all of a catch-all, really. So some people will actually do production orders without looking at the forecast. So they create the production orders. This is what I'm going to make and when I'm going to make it. But what they will then do, they will use MRP to make sure they've swept up all the requirements of materials and all that kind of thing. Another thing that standard Business Central doesn't do, I'm just going to click that now, it doesn't take into account expiry dates when it's running MRP. So again, we've enhanced that to allow you to do that. So what that means is if your raw materials are going to expire before the production order is going to make them, it will suggest you go and buy new raw materials. Okay, if it's after, when you've cooked a product, it gets a different expiry date, so it's great there. Something else that's really useful as well is if you're buying big lots of raw material, and as soon as you open a raw material, that new canister gets a different expiry date. We can create a sublot for that with a new expiry date that's then taken into account by the system. So again, sublotting will allow us to actually take into account open products which get different shelf life to closed products. So what the system's done, it's just looked at my requirements here, and it said we've got lots of emergency stock here, so I've got really good lead times for my suppliers, but because this requirement is on the first of the month, it suggests now I've got no chance of doing these. What I'm going to do, my system here is set up with dates in the past, because it's my demo system. So I'm just going to ignore all the emergency requests here that say you've really got to work miracles to get this in here, because you just can't. I'm just suggesting I'm going to carry out all those action messages. But what the system said here is I need to create new production orders. So I've got 2 new production orders. I've got some change quantities. I've got some reschedule. I've got some reschedule and change quantities. I've got some cancel. So what the system will do, it will suggest what it thinks you should be doing based upon the demand on the system of your orders and your forecast. So it suggested 2 production orders, one to make the sub-assembly and one to make the finished product. And it suggested about 10 or so purchase orders that I need to go to buy those materials, because I've got none of these materials in. So it's suggesting I need to make all these. Now, what it will do, it will take into account all of the min-max levels from your suppliers and all that kind of stuff, but it's still a suggestion. So I can actually say, well, actually, I'm going to buy 20,000 of those. 20,000 sleeves, because I know if I buy 20,000, I can get an extra level of discount on there. And again, I can drill into any one of these items to go and explore them or get some more information about them. The default supplier will always be suggested, but again, you can change the vendor if you want to. So if you have multiple vendors, you can do that. We do have customers where they do a split 50-50 with vendors, or 30 from this vendor and 70 there. So they're not actually locking themselves into one vendor for all their materials. So you can do that as well. That standard Business Central doesn't do that, but we can tweak the system to do that. When I'm happy with the recommendations of what it's going to do, I can click there and say carry out action messages. And what that will do now is for everything where I've got a production order suggested, I'm going to make a firm planned production order. Everything where I've got a purchase order suggested, I'm going to go and make those purchase orders. I can print them and send them off, or I can send them off to what's called a requisition worksheet, which is a buyer screen where they go and get some quotes for materials and things like this. I'm just going to make purchase orders at this particular point in time. Transfer orders are if you've got multiple locations. So, for example, you may have Sainsbury's may have consignment stock at a depot. And whenever that depot gets low, it will actually, you need to now trunk some stuff from your main warehouse to the Sainsbury's depot. And so it will create a transfer order to make, to move stock from one place to another, which would then trigger a production order to make some more material at your main depot that you can then trunk to it. So all of these like spider webs of push and pull can all be built within the system. I'm going to click OK. And off it will go. It will create me 2 production orders and a couple of purchase orders in my system. Okay, I'm assuming we've got no questions at this point, Brian, because you've been very quiet.
No,
okay, good.
Everyone's very satisfied with the what you're saying.
Or confused because I'm talking too fast. Right, so I'm going to just nip on to my purchasing first. I'm going to quick look at vendors, because vendors is quite an interesting area. We've done some changes to vendors here. So I'm going to go on to vendor number 20. Oh, can't even remember which one it was. There you go. Food ingredients. Vendor 25. Now, we've done a few things, enhancements to vendors above what Standard Business Central does. One of those that's quite useful within the food industry is your vendor approvals. So if I look at my vendor approvals, if I can find out where they're gone. So we've got the vendor shelf life. So again, when you're buying from a vendor, you may specify that I need at least X shelf life on a product when I'm buying from you. But when I go to the quality aspects, I can say my vendor compliance documents. This vendor has to have these different documents when I buy from them for this particular item. And things like if they purport to be a my brain's gone, vegan friendly or vegetarian or green or red tractor, or you may say that their certifications need to be for that particular kind of document. I've got a few set up in my system here. I've got a red tractor one, I've got soil association ones, halal ones, and the certifications will be there. The system will remind you when their certs are going out of date, and then if it does go out of date, the system will stop you buying from them until their certifications are back up to scratch. Again, just to give an example, you can attach a copy of the certs there whenever they come in. So that's just one thing you can do. I've set this one here, so I've got all the certs that I need from this particular buyer. The other thing we do enhance Business Central to quite often is this product is only certified to be purchased for when you buying for Tesco. So if it's an ingredient that's going into a Tesco product, they will certify the suppliers that you can buy from, or even maybe a product that you can buy from certain suppliers. So again, that's something we can enhance the system to do as well. So you're only getting certain products from the certified products for the right customers. We can also do quality orders as well. So this customer here, for example, oh, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go back and create a quality rule. So we can create quality rules. So say when we're buying a product from Tesco, I'm doing Asda here, so I don't know what I'm talking about Tesco for. I'm going to create a new chicken rule. The origin of chicken, and the transaction type is going to be, so what I can do, I can create a rule that says whenever I'm doing a purchase receipt for this product from all items from this vendor, I need to run this particular quality check, and if it fails this particular quality check, it will get rejected. Okay, click OK, and I'm going to do it every single instance I have, and I only want one of them, one check. If that's going to be like a temperature check, I might say I want to do 3 temperature checks or something like that. Click next, click finish, and what that means is basically whenever I'm buying this vendor now, that check will automatically come up whenever goods come in. But you saw there we had all sorts of rules where goods in, production, 1 every hour, dispatch, all sorts of quality checks that we can do. We won't have time to go through all the quality checks we can do today, but I will show you some of them as we go through. So that's all the kind of stuff you can do about the vendors. There's lots of stuff we can do there. Again, vendor rebates, different documents and things that you have against the vendors. Going back to our purchase orders, that we just created. I've got this purchase order here for the food ingredients company. I can start booking these goods in. We can either book them in on handheld devices, so the goods will appear at the back door of the warehouse. We do have the ability to do booking in slots from vendors. So this vendor will book in and going to be in at 3 o'clock. This vendor is at 4 o'clock. So we have a calendar of the bookings that the guys can do. Again, it's if you've got restricted back doors for goods in. One thing that we do have to have on all these items here, though, is lot tracking. So if I'm just going to show you there, I can go to my item tracking lines. I'm not going to book all these goods in now because it'll take too much time to do that, but I can assign a lot number to this particular item to say these goods are coming in, and we got 5 of those coming in on this particular lot number and 10 of them coming on this lot number, and that's the expiry date. So basically what you're doing is the goods that are coming in, again, an expiry date and a lot number as part of that. Now, if you're using barcodes, it's really easy because you just scan the barcode, and you can use GS128 barcodes where one barcode can have the lot number, the expiry date, and the item number and the case number all in one go. If you are doing serial level tracking, we generally use serial level tracking for when each case has got a catch weight and each case is unique with a weight. So we can do that then. It will book in that serial number with that particular weight of case on there. But again, all we would do then, it's going to complain about that one there, we'd book in all these particular items, and then we'd bring them all in either on a handheld device or from a purchase order. There's lots of different ways of bringing goods in. So that's how the purchase orders work inside the system. I'm going to look at now the production orders, just to take you very quickly on production orders. Did I do release production order, firm planned? I think I did firm planned production order. So there's 3 different types of production orders within the system. You have planned production orders, firm plan production orders, and release production orders. Now, they all have different different uses within the system. So a planned production order generally is, this is what I think I'm going to do in the next few weeks' time, maybe a month's time. Again, it depends on your lead time of some of your raw materials. If you have a 6-month lead time on your raw materials, what you probably want to do is have a production plan for 6 months' time to say, right, that's a stick in the ground of what I think I'm going to make. And that will then trigger all the purchasing of all the raw materials you need, because it knows how much lead time you've got and all that kind of stuff. Every time MRP runs, it will delete all the planned production orders and recreate them based upon the latest changes. You then have firm plan production orders. This is typically what I'm going to do next week. So it's more of a, we're almost certain that's what we're going to do. So you have a firm plan production order, the system will ban them. It will not delete them every time, but it may suggest changes to the dates and quantities for them. And then you have release production order. This is what's out on the shop floor, or this is my launch this week's worth of production plans. Okay, so generally MRP won't touch those. So if there's a release production order, it will suggest a new production order is created if a quantity changes, or it will suggest that you need to do something manually to go and change the production order that's out on the shop floor. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. But what we got here is that chicken tikka masala has got a production order there, and it's saying we need to make 3,000 kilograms of this chicken tikka masala at 90 pence per kilogram. I can go in here and have a look at some of the information like the components. We haven't talked about byproducts. We do have byproducts within the system as well. We can see the components I'm going to use, how much of each individual component I'm going to use within the system. We can also go and have a look at the bill of materials, the routing, all this kind of stuff inside the system. So we have access to all of this kind of functionality here, but we also have a drag and drop Gantt chart to allow us to plan it. So if I have a look at my Gantt chart, I mean, just in case everyone isn't familiar with a Gantt chart, very quickly, while that's loading that, I'll just show you a screenshot of a Gantt chart. So this is a typical Gantt chart, and basically what it's going to be doing here is your different work centers are going to be down the left-hand side. Your time is going to be across the right, and your production orders are going to be consuming capacity and showing you where they're going to go. So a cutting will go from there to there to there, for example. But we can do all sorts of interesting things by using colors. So we can have different products at different colors. We can have different allergens at different colors. And that allows us then to schedule all the allergens together. So schedule all my gluten ones first. We do all the production of all the gluten products, and then we do a really big clean down, and then we do the next product, which is a non-gluten one or a nut one or wherever it may be. But it allows you to then minimize your changeovers by grouping your different products together. Typically people use it for colors of products, so they start on the lightest product and eventually get on the darkest product. Again, if you can minimize your clean down, your change down, it will make you a little bit more efficient. And again, those groupings really help that kind of functionality. But what I'm going to show you is this. So I haven't got many production orders at the moment. Oh yeah, I didn't even do that then. So this is my visual drag and drop Gantt chart. And what it does basically is, like we said, down the left-hand side is all my production orders. Across the right-hand is going to be my actual production orders. And we can drill in by week, by day, by item. We can go and have a look at the particular items. I can get the system to schedule all the items for me. So I'll go and schedule all my items, but I can also do things like schedule all, including alternatives. And again, there's something we didn't talk about, but if you've got multiple machines sent or multiple ways of making an item, not sufficient capacity. If you've got multiple ways of making an item, you can say, well, actually, that machine's broken, and therefore use the alternative machine, which may be slightly quicker, slightly slower. It may need different bill of materials, but so you can have different routines that take into account different operations that go on down there. Now, if I'd have got this data planned rightly or correctly, all of these items would have been dragged and moved around. It's just complaining about them at the moment. Any of the items I can drill into and go and have a look at them. So if I double click on them, it will take me into that particular item. I can go and change items, change quantity and stuff like that, and go back to it. But what the general gist is that when I'm finished and I'm happy with the schedule that I've done of these items, whoops, the computer there. The computer will then allow me to close those items, and I can then publish that simulation to be the actual change. So you can see here we can have multiple simulations. Until you're quite happy with the simulation you want, you don't publish it, and then you publish that simulation. Another thing that I didn't show you on there is EMAD. I haven't got time to show you now because I'm almost out of time. EMAD is earliest material availability date. And what that basically does on my Gantt chart here, it will actually draw a line, which is where the material is going to be available for the production you want. And it won't allow you to drag it in front of that earliest material availability line, purely because the materials won't be available to make it. So you have all sorts of different lines that this computer will draw for you to help you plan your production. And you can see here my dates are a little bit in week 25 rather than in the date that my production is all scheduled there. So hopefully that's given you a little bit of a flavour of those. And the final bit is when we launch a production, how do we manage a production? So we've got two ways of doing that. We have our MES screens, manufacturing execution system, which are basically touch screens out on the shop floor for capturing your actuals that's going on. So in this particular instance, I'm on this particular work center. I'm going to launch this production order. It'll have a list of the work to, or the production orders you're going to do. You can say who the operator is, or you can scan a code to say who they are. They will then start working on that job. So you customize what you show the operators on their screen. So it says here, I've got to make 62 kilograms of this particular product, which is chicken tikka masala. And it will then start, if I click start, it will start the clock counting to say, I'm now running this operation. I can go and have a look at the components I've got to issue to the job. So I can go and issue some components to the job. I can overissue if I've actually damaged products, or so the system's keeping the actuals. I can do byproducts. I can output individual lots. I can scrap items. I can add additional people. I can remove people. It's all about capturing your actual costings here. So this is one way of doing it. Power Apps that Brian talked about very briefly earlier. All the Power Platform is becoming more and more of a part within what we do with Business Central now. So a Power App is basically a quick version of this that we can customize to a particular customer. So we use it in food production more so than anything else. So we do some at the fish producing companies where you don't know what you're going to get until you look at the product maybe. So the operator will say, actually, I'm not making a fillet of fish this time. The fish is not quite good enough. Therefore, I'm making some chunks of fish. So instead of making the fillet, he'll say, I'm going to click a different button and I'm making chunks of fish, and I've made 12 kilograms of chunks of fish. But again, a Power App is really quick and easy way of us being able to give a more dynamic way of capturing information. It doesn't have all the functionality this screen has with byproducts and things like that, but it does allow the user to do all sorts of different operations that may not necessarily be doing normally. So that's the kind of screens there. So I'll just show you what some of those Power Apps can look like. So they can look, this is the one we did for Gressingham some time ago, but again, this isn't the actual one, but we couldn't show the actual one, but this gives them an idea of what they're doing. They're taking in day olds, they're working how much feed they're giving to the chickens, what the weight of the chickens are, ducks actually, it's not chickens, ducks, even though that's a chicken, and what the mortality rate is. And what they're trying to work out is what barns have got what ducks that they can take for culling for getting the least giveaway when Tesco says I want a 1.5 kilogram duck. So they say, well, actually a 1.8 kilogram duck will give me a 1.5 kilogram finished product. Therefore, which of my 100 or so barns is going to give me the best or the least giveaway? Again, that's just one example. We've got lots of different examples of what they are these days. So really conscious of my time now. I have got a couple of other things I do want to talk about. So I've got to flick back here. Oops, that's not the one I want. That's the one I want. We have lots of apps for the distributors. I can't remember if there's any distributors among you, but we have things for managing your shipments. If you've got your own vehicles, if you're using third-party shipping agents, we've got all sorts of things there for doing that. So we've got shipment management, where you can have customers are on different drops against a run, where the run's going to go to, what drops is going to be, what time they have to be there. We also then have plugins for things like Podfather, where you can do final mile recording. We've got a whole series of quality apps. So we've got a whole quality, if we click on there, quality app that we've built for the quality in food. So we can do quality orders. So an order is basically a series of checks that you're going to do against an item. Quality check codes are what you're going to check. So in this particular instance, I've got a couple of check codes here with an external check, an internal check, a vehicle check, a weight check. So pardon me, you can have all these kind of checks. So the kind of checks we can do is on goods in. You say typically we'll do 2 goods in checks. One is what is the vehicle like, and do these 5 checks. When the vehicle's passed, you can actually drop the goods, but then before you can positively release the goods into production or into the warehouse, you then have to go and do maybe some lab checks. And until the lab check is done, that batch or that lot, you can move it around, you can stick it in different places, but you can't issue it to production, you can't ship it, you can't consume it. Then when the lab comes back and they're positive release, then we can release them into the system. And going alongside that is your final farm to fork traceability, which is our lot tracking. So everything we do within the system, where's lot information number? That's not the one I wanted. Bear with me. Lot. Bum, bum, bum. Where's all my lot? My information lot numbers. Information list. Item trace. There we go. Might help. Okay, so inside the system, we have the ability then to track by the lot number, by the item, by everything within the system to see what exactly has happened with that. So if I'm going to go here and do a filter on some chicken, chicken, C-H-I-C-K, chicken. Let's help if I can spell. Let's do the chicken breast. So we're going to go track on this raw material. And I'm going to trace this raw material. And we can see we had a receipt of this raw material on this lot number, and then it went into this product, and then it went into a purchase receipt. But I can actually then also do trace from opposite. I can also then see exactly where that chicken went to all the other products. So we can see there it went on a sales shipment to this chicken tikka masala that went to Asda. And again, if I did the opposite way around, I could go on to lot 14. I could clear that out there, and then type in lot number 14, get rid of that one. I could do the same for tracing lot 14. We see exactly where it went, and then I could do a trace reverse from there. We could see all that information also went into lot 14, so you can see all the ingredients that went into it, when they went into it. And then again, if you have a particular problem with a particular ingredient, you can then go and show the document where that came from, when it came in on, etc., etc. So it came in on that purchase order with all those other items. So hopefully a BRC audit becomes a breeze. We do it, but there is an overhead to any business. We do lot tracking in that every time you interact with a lot, if you're doing lot tracking, you have to say, that's the lot I used, that's the lot I moved. So again, if we use the barcoding within the system with the handheld devices, it becomes a real breeze to do. And again, you can also use the integration with the handheld, so with the devices to integrate to scales. So, for example, if you're weighing a particular amount of material, you have a button pops up on screen that says weigh. It consumes that weight of there, and you scan the lot to say that's the lot of use, that's the weight of it, and in it goes. So it becomes much easier to do all of that kind of planning and production within your system. So I have talked an awful lot. I've talked very quickly. I'm going to stop for a bit. I'm going to open up to any questions that anyone may want to ask me. Any questions from anyone?
Darren, James here from Nairns.
Hello.
One particular area that we kind of struggle with is packaging revisions and variations on packaging. And I was just wondering, is there anything within Dynamics that would be able to assist with that?
I would say normally it's so you got both of those are available. So you got versions of the packaging and you got your variants. So if the marketing department are changing the look and feel of the packaging, and you want to know, well, before they change it, how much have you still got in stock before you change it? Because we don't want to write off all that stock. You can use variants for that. And you can also use versions for the actual bomb itself to say, actually, this version is valid from here to here because we've got that much stock left. So you'll have expiry date on the version. And then when that expiry date happens, it will automatically change to the new version of the packaging that you're going to use without having to think about it. So you can use information in the system to see what packaging you've got, what versions you got, and then set a version and then expiry of a version to automatically upgrade to the next version when that packaging is expected to run out without it fully running out, because you don't want it completely running out. You want to know a cut-off, so you may write off like a few cases of packaging rather than like cases and cases and cases of packaging, which happens all the time in the food industry.
Does the system also let you visually view the actual packaging revision that you should be using?
Yeah.
Is there a mechanism for that as well?
Yep. So if we go into the item, I haven't set up anything on packaging for doing that, but the system will allow you to do that within the item. So if I go and have a look at one I've got here, I think this one's got packaging on. And this all depends whether I set it up as well. So we can see here we've got a certified version. We've got an expiry date on there as well. And if it's the sleeve is probably going to be the one there. So if we go and create a new version, so you can, we've enhanced Business Central to be a lot better than what standard Business Central is. So within standard Business Central, you just have a version and you'll have the different versions there. We've actually created a whole change control for managing that whole process, so you know exactly what's going to be and what the revision is going to be. So I'm going to do a change control now, and I'm going to change that packaging there, and I'm going to say marketing introduced a new look and feel from 1/1/26, and we can have the reason codes there, and so basically you can have all those different things, and the system will then manage this whole change request for you and give you the versions of what you've got. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But that's an enhancement we've done. It just makes it a little bit better. Sorry, Brian.
Sorry, just concluded that. Vince has asked a question as well. I don't know if you...
Yeah. Thank you. It's Vinca. I'm from Intelligent Road Solutions, and we are a vertical farming company. So it's really impressive what you've shown today. But it would be good to know how OEMs integrate with this, as you're talking about managing the production line. What kind of standards you use for integrating with the machinery on the production floor?
I'll show you. So the great thing about Microsoft, it's not like SAP. Nothing is hidden. So if you go to docs.microsoft.com, and if you do a search for Business Central API, if I can spell, it will show you exactly how it works and what the different APIs are. So basically it's all via APIs. So if we're talking directly to machinery, whether it's SCADA compatible or anything like that, or talking to Elf, it's all via the APIs, and there's a number of out-the-box standard APIs that can just talk to out the box, or we can create a brand new API very quickly to have extra fields that maybe the standard API doesn't have. But all of this is available there with Microsoft, and learn.microsoft.com teaches you how to use it all. Okay.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I haven't got that one there. Go on, sorry, someone else asked a question then?
No other hands up, and nothing in chat.
What I was going to finish on Power BI, because Power BI is becoming more and more popular now. There's about 100 reports in Power BI these days for Business Central out the box. So they all have different looks and feels, but you get to take all these standard ones and tweak them yourself. But this is just the out the box ones for finance. So there's all sorts of different ones there. So reporting in Business Central is now an absolute breeze. It's like you got Power BI, you have Excel, export to Excel. You also have Excel reports. So I can go and create my own Excel report template for this one here. I can chuck the data into a template. I can create a new template. So every time I download, I can then download my data into this template, and it becomes my report. I haven't got any data there, but you can see the report available, enable the content. So you've got Excel reporting. You also have Cosmos, which is basically a cloud-based reporting tool. It's like a data mining or a data warehouse. And it does all the pre-processing of the data for you, and you also have Jet Reports. So there's lots of tools there. They're the ones that we support as standard, but because it's basically you expose the data via our data sources, you can have any report you want. You can't access the back end in the old traditional way of the SA password to SQL. Okay, you have to expose the data via APIs or our data sources before you can consume it. But these tools like Power BI stuff have all the pre-built ones that you'd want. Hopefully I didn't confuse people then. Anything else from anyone? I have showed you a subset of everything the Business Central can do. I'm conscious it's like a very wide audience of what there, but there's lots of functionality within Business Central that I just haven't showed you today that makes it a little bit more unique to different industries. But feel free to drop us a line. So if anyone wants to, so the next steps are, you can get an understanding of, does anyone have an understanding of cost here? Does anyone want to know about costs? To give it to scare people with costs, just so you know. Business Central licenses, all the Microsoft costs are available on the internet. Just search Business Central costs. I think it's like between 57.50 per user per month and 80 to 20 or thereabouts. That includes all your hosting and the disaster recovery and everything from Microsoft. So that makes it easy. Implementation is a little bit of a piece of string. An implementation can be anything from, we have what we call our delivered implementation, which is a fixed price, fixed scope. That's anything between, I think it's 14,000 to 40,000 for a delivered implementation. But an implementation of Business Central for a really big company could be anything up to 150, 200 days of our time. Okay, so those are the kind of things that you'd have to bear in mind for a full custom implementation. And when I say custom, it's implemented to your requirements rather than a set fixed scope, fixed price implementation. Anyone got any other questions?
No questions. Daz, could you put on the slide just promoting the roadshow events? So I think whilst the webinar and virtual settings are very convenient, it's great to have the opportunity to sort of engage face to face with people. So that end, we're fulfilling a series of regional events in the autumn, which we'd encourage people to. So various disparate locations, Dublin, Glasgow, and our Wolverhampton head office.
Great. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch the video. We do appreciate it. It gives me something to do. So if anyone does have anything, please feel free to contact us. If you'd like us to come and understand what you do and give you more of an accurate demonstration or a tailored demonstration of Business Central for your company, we are happy to do that. So just drop us a line and we'll come and visit you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.